How the hell can you afford to travel so much? That is probably the question I get asked the most, so we're gonna go ahead and answer that today. My name is Malikah and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. This channel is all about traveling more in expat life, and I've had the privilege of living in 2 different countries as an expat. First Milan, Italy, and then currently now in Beirut, Lebanon. If you want to learn more about life in those countries, please check out some of my other videos, but for now, let's get right into my tips for financing more travel and how you can travel more in 2022. I've traveled to about 20 countries, including Spain, Switzerland, Bermuda, Colombia, South Africa, and as I'm filming this right now, I'm a few days away from a trip to Zanzibar, Tanzania. So before COVID, I would usually do about 3 or 4 big international trips a year, plus a few smaller weekends like in the US or Caribbean. Things obviously came to a complete halt in 2020 and then slowly picked back up, and I hope in 2022 I'll be able to get back to my normal travel speed. So here are some of my tips to help you budget to travel more. If you are looking for short-term hacks, this video is unfortunately not for you, but keep watching if you are interested in making long-term sustainable lifestyle changes to make your dream of frequent travel more part of your reality. Get your basic finances in order. So first and most obvious, make sure you have the disposable income that you need to fund your travel. That means that you have stable employment, you are not struggling to pay off debt, and you have emergency savings. If you don't have those things covered, then you need to focus on finding your financial footing before you can start planning and paying for trips. Even if you travel cheaply or stick to like a super tight budget, travel is still a luxury and financial responsibilities are far more important. So if you know you want to be able to travel more and have more financial freedom, think about it in the future and like what you can do now to make that possible and work toward that goal down the road. Consider a career change. If you want to travel more, there are just some jobs or career paths that are more conducive to that lifestyle and that just make it a lot easier to accomplish it. Having a salaried job with a generous PTO policy will make it much easier to get those vacations in, as well as jobs that still allow remote work so you can work from anywhere. The one good thing that came out of the pandemic was how normalized remote work has become, so definitely take advantage of that. Many employers are much more willing to negotiate remote work or hybrid half in the office, half at home model than ever before. Again, a career shift will take time, it will take energy, you'll have to look for a job and find a new one, which is why I said this video isn't about quick little hacks. But if you want to have a job that will give you the pay and the flexibility that you want to travel frequently, you need to keep that in mind and take some of those steps. Unfortunately, it's just an essential part of this kind of lifestyle. Start saying no more often. Most people don't have an unlimited amount of disposable income, so you need to decide what you are going to spend it on. Even if you say yes to every birthday dinner, party, girls' night out, wedding, whatever else, you are easily spending hundreds, if not thousands of dollars a year that could be funding your next trip. Think about how much you can reasonably afford to spend on your social life without compromising your goal to save more money for your travel, and then just stick to that goal. Even things like your beauty maintenance can be cut if to help you pay for travel more if that's something that's more important to you. So yes, I travel a lot. Even before I moved abroad, I traveled a lot, but I almost never get my nails done. I have had eyelashes never, like eyelash extensions never in my life. I wear $3 strips from CVS, and I might set foot in a hair salon like 3 times a year at most. Take a look at how you spend on socializing, on beauty, or any other miscellaneous random stuff, and think about what you can reprioritize to make more room in your budget for travel. Make it part of your job or your side hustle. Making travel part of your side hustle is a great way to travel more and save more on travel. And I don't mean suddenly becoming a travel influencer overnight, because that is long and competitive and it is not for everyone. But you could start a side business in hospitality consulting. You can team up with companies that host group trips and offer your services as an assistant. You can start a business that allows you to work remote, or you can attend more conferences or events in your industry that you can actually travel to. And if you are a content creator or an aspiring influencer, there are a ton of ways you can work with brands for free or for subsidized travel. So I actually have been able to work with brands and tourism boards to go on sponsored trips, even as a very small creator, but I've also been able to use my personal travel to pitch brands for my sponsored trips, for sponsored posts. So for example, when I used to go to Miami or Basel, I could never, ever get a brand to cover the cost of my travel. But I could book my own travel and then use that as a negotiating point when negotiating sponsored posts from fashion companies or beauty brands who wanted product placement around Basel, but they just couldn't afford to go on their own. So that would help me get my expenses covered and also make a profit. Making travel part of your business also allows you to deduct some of your travel expenses on your taxes, but the key here is that they have to be deemed necessary and reasonable. So for example, traveling to a conference, a relevant conference, and staying 2 nights at the hotel where the event is held or somewhere nearby is probably going to be acceptable. Spending a week at a 5-star luxury resort on the beach when the event's not even anywhere near the beach is probably not going to be. But I'm not a tax expert, so make sure you check with the experts on that one. Start a travel account. I recently started a separate travel savings account to make it easier to save for and fund my trips. So usually I would just use my normal bank account and one of my preferred credit cards for booking, but I want to travel more, especially kind of random small weekend trips around the Middle East, so I decided to get a little bit more organized. I had a second savings account that I used when I was planning our destination wedding, since that charged no fee for international wire transfers and it was so much easier to manage payments with our French vendors. So since the wedding is over, I decided now to use that as my travel account and fund it with a very small direct deposit every week to keep it active and slowly build my stash. And it is small for now, but with regular contributions and interest that will accumulate, I will be able to have enough to start putting toward travel in spring and summer. I also like having a separate travel fund because it helps keep me from having travel-related debt. So even though I use my credit cards for booking travel, I can always fully pay off my balance using that separate savings account. And I can also use that money for expenses when I'm on the trip, since I have a debit card attached to it that doesn't charge for international fees. Plan trips that fit your lifestyle. This one is important, and don't get caught up trying to compete with other people's lifestyles. You will just end up being miserable. Not everyone can go on a 3-week-long adventure through Europe in the summer, and that's just not anything that you should feel bad about. You can start planning trips that make sense for you and where you are in your life. And I know that it looks like everyone on Instagram's in Mexico or Bali or wherever, but that just might not be for everyone. If you have a super tight budget, you can try traveling in the off-season to make it more affordable, or you can even take road trips instead of flying everywhere. If you have limited time off you can't take an extended international trip, think about small or short domestic weekends or places that have easy direct flights that you can be in and out of in a couple of days. Take advantage of credit cards with perks. I'm definitely not advocating building up credit card debt, so if you know that you are someone who cannot use your credit card responsibly and cannot pay that balance off in full, then ignore this tip and go ahead and skip to the next chapter. But I am a big fan of using credit card perks to finance travel. Almost every airline has a credit card that usually offers things like free miles, free checked bags, more upgrades, and also more flexibility with bookings and cancellations. My favorite card is the Delta SkyMiles card, which gave me about 75,000 miles when I first opened the account, which is already more than enough for a free trip. And it also gives me a free companion certificate every year, so every year I basically get a buy one, get one free flight, so I can take a friend on a trip for free, or we can split the cost of my ticket. So do some research on credit cards that might make sense for you, and remember to use them responsibly. Loyalty pays off. One approach to traveling frequently is to just always look for the cheapest or the best deal, and the other is to focus on your preferred brands and build loyalty and status with them. I do a little bit of both, and I can see that there definitely are perks to showing a brand a little bit of loyalty. I use my Amex and my Delta card exclusively for booking travel, so I always have a ton of points and miles, and my husband has status with Hilton and Marriott, so his points come in handy for booking hotels. So before COVID, we planned a honeymoon in the south of France, and we booked the entire week just on points. I have recently become a big fan of Booking.com for hotels because I love their no prepayment and flexible cancellation policies, and their loyalty program also gives me additional discounts and room upgrades at check-in. So it's just a really great program that makes it really easy to book your trips. Unfortunately, there are not any Delta flights out of Beirut, so I do have to find a new preferred carrier while we are here, or use SkyMiles partners that serve this area, like I think MEA or Air France. But the biggest perk of showing loyalty to an airline or hotel chain is not necessarily saving money, but it's more just the small perks and being treated better as a traveler, like being treated more like a human, which will make your experience a lot better. Find a travel community. If you don't have friends to travel with, it just can be a little bit harder or more expensive to travel more, just because you don't have anyone to split expenses with, and then hotel and Airbnb costs do add up. A lot of people, especially women, are also afraid to travel alone, so things like Facebook groups, these Instagram group travel pages, themed retreats, these are all great ways to find travel buddies or go on group trips without having to do all the legwork and planning yourself. Guided group trips do tend to be more expensive because of the service they provide, and then of course also because the organizers are taking a cut and making their profit. But if you want the convenience and you can afford to spend a little bit more money for it, go ahead and enjoy the experience. And you can also get to know people through these experiences that can become your future travel friends if you find people you hit it off with and want to plan your next trip together. So moving abroad does come with some big initial budgeting and planning, but living in a new country is one of the best ways to increase your opportunities to travel more frequently. I know expats who have moved to Portugal, which actually has some of the lowest costs of living in Western Europe. I myself spent 3 years living in Italy, and then now I live in Beirut, Lebanon. So living in a new country opens up the opportunity to take advantage of amazing long weekend trips for a fraction of the price because you're already in that region. So from Italy, I was going on cheap weekends on the train or like taking low-cost airlines for like 50 euros round trip. From Beirut, I'm planning weekends around the Middle East, like to Morocco, Jordan, Turkey, and even sometimes in Europe, because there are a lot of flights to major European cities for like $300 or $400, and will only take about 4 hours to get there. If you are interested in moving abroad, make sure you check out some of my other videos for planning your move abroad, for budgeting for that as well. Timing is everything. So everyone was shopping on Black Friday. You want to know what I was buying? Trips. There are unfortunately never airfield deals out of Beirut, so I wasn't looking at anything like that, but there are always flight sales from the US or specials to and from the US to go almost anywhere, so definitely take a look at those and keep your eyes peeled. I spent most of my time looking at hotels and like other travel perks. So I booked a 2-week trip in Southeast Asia. The hotels were all like 50% off. I booked a couple of like European trips in like May, June, and July, all because these hotels had free cancellation and no prepayment. So I got unbelievable pricing at luxury hotels, and I don't have to pay for it until like I check in 6 months later. And I also purchased some miles because they're on sale for 30% off and they don't expire, so I can use them for award travel pretty much anytime. If you are trying to travel more, taking advantage of fare sales is essential, but in a lot of cases you do need to have the money ready at the time of booking, which goes back to my earlier point on maintaining your travel fund. And I'm also gonna leave a few of my favorite places to book discounted travel fares in the description box as well. And remember, a lot of states and countries are going in and out of tourism lockdowns, so that can work to your advantage. These places will be trying to lure back tourists and get high occupancy rates, so you might find that you have more flexibility or added perks to sweeten the deal. I think the hotels I booked for my upcoming Asia trip were all ridiculously cheap. Because the countries I'm visiting had such strict tourism restrictions for so long, they need to entice tourists to come back as soon as they can. And the last tip, maybe it's controversial, but you need to get vaccinated. And I know some of y'all are not gonna wanna hear this, but if you are still unvaccinated, travel is not going to be easy for you. COVID is still a serious problem, and most countries that have reopened tourism are only allowing vaccinated visitors. Even if you don't care about things like public health, ending the pandemic, stopping the spread of a preventable disease that has killed millions of people, you probably do care about how these restrictions affect you. So if you have been vaccine hesitant but want more flexibility and freedom to travel, you're probably going to have to get jabs sooner than later, because again, most countries will just continue to have restrictions, especially on unvaccinated travelers. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope these tips help. If you have any other travel tips I didn't mention, please go ahead and share them in the comments below. And if you like this video, please like, subscribe, and share. I'll catch you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.